You are now tuned into the sounds of
Big Nate Sports Talk.
It's on all the time, anytime.
Tuned in to Big Nate Sports Talk, the show that is on all the time, anytime. And now, ladies and gentlemen, your host, Nathan Snell.
Cut it off! I am having a very bad day. I am in no mood. This today is one of the worst days that I've had in a long time. I'm not in the mood to play with anybody. I mean, damn it! I'm ticked off. I mean, damn! Damn!
Okay, thank you, producers, for that. That was something. That was a bit extra. Even, ladies and gentlemen, is your host, Nathan Snell, Big Nate Sports Talk Podcast. This is episode 407 of the podcast. We're talking Maryland football, as you see in the title. Before we get into this, a few things I want to say up front. We're recapping not only the loss to Minnesota, but we're also talking about the win last week against USC. I was supposed to do a video on that and did not do one, so we got to get you caught up on the last 2 weeks. The last two episodes, 406 or 405, have been recorded, and those videos will be out again. And this will be out tomorrow afternoon as I'm recording this. So let's just get into it. We're going to start with the homecoming win, Maryland versus USC, and I was confident in the win. The final score was 29-28. I put a tweet out Saturday morning, and I'm paraphrasing. I was essentially like, we're going to do it today. We're going to surprise USC. So people were like, you're crazy. Blah, 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 blah. I even texted one of my friends and said the same thing. Coming into that game, USC was 500. They're 1-3 in the Big Ten. They're not the same team from last year. Miller Moses, I think, is a good quarterback. I still don't think he's exceeded expectations. Because last year in the Holiday Bowl, I watched him play. He threw 6 touchdowns, and he beat number Louisville? I think they're ranked 19th, I think, if I remember correctly. But he's a good player. Don't get me wrong. He's coming into that game into the game against Maryland, I think he was almost 64% of completion of his passes, 11 touchdowns in 6 games. But he does turn the ball over. The last 4 games he's thrown at least 1 interception. When you look at their biggest thing is they pass the ball. Lincoln Riley has done that since he's been in Oklahoma. Again, Caleb Williams is not there, and I just didn't see it. Now they average almost I think it was 280 passing yards a game. coming into the game. But the biggest thing that I think what sold me was they give up a lot of yards. They gave up almost 350 yards a game, and that's the fifth most in the Big Ten. And also looking at the last couple of weeks, they've struggled to finish games. And I'm like, okay, that's how we can beat them. They don't finish. Now, I thought what was key in the victory was our resiliency. I thought we stayed in the game. There was at one point I'm sitting there going like, damn, like this is not happening. And the blocked field goal, I think, was the key. But Billy Edwards, man, say what you want, but he's been doing his thing as our quarterback. There was some chaos in the game, I will say that. We drove down with 53 seconds to score. And then, hey, the 4-2 incomplete pass. I still think that this Maryland team, it's all potential. Especially that was Locksley's second game calling the plays. The first two plays, he didn't run the ball. He opted to pass. I question that. Our offense showed a lot of bubble screens, short action play throws. We just scored 7 points. I mean, we didn't really do a whole lot to contain them at first defensively. I thought the start of the second half, I thought was really kind of like, damn, we weren't doing anything. We turned the ball over. We have to take 3 minutes off the clock, and then the interception. We're at our 18-yard line. So I mean, we gotta clean up those mistakes. I thought for the most part, I mean, when you look, I mean, it was a pass-heavy game, and at both teams. I mean, it took us more than two. I think it was like after the second drive, we caught our first run play, and that was a 3-yard game by Nolan Ray. I mean, we only had 4 designed run plays, and there was a couple quarterback sneaks, but they were for a whopping 7 yards. And I can't defend that. Like, what you want me to say? So I thought it was something to see with both offenses. I mean, when you look at it, I mean, they were playing a lot of man coverage too, which I thought was really key in the game. The rushing attack in the second half for Maryland I thought was key. 12 carries, 68 yards. And the same thing we go on the USC side. I think it was 8 times to 44 yards in the first half, and then 20 carries for 88 yards at the end of the game. I think they did all the right things to win this game. Personally, if you look at I think the second half for me was key for Maryland. I wasn't concerned. I mean, Ty Felton led we saw a more balanced attack. Octavian Smith Jr. I think he had a great game. 8 catches for 84 yards in that touchdown catch. I know he's been dealing with an injury, but hey, he stepped up. Caden Prather, he had 111 yards on 9 carries, 9 receptions. Again, but the biggest thing is mistakes. The penalties have been killing us, and that's been a thing. And that's been a wearing theme you've seen this year. First quarter, for example, we got penalty. We had a penalty for illegal substitution, missed a 52-yard field goal. That's one mistake, and especially they capitalized on that touchdown. Then Billy Edwards in the second quarter, he's fumbled, turned the ball over. We were called for a false start. We tried to go for it on 4th down. That was a mistake. It just seemed, and if you look, I had to look back at the Michigan State game, and that was the same thing. Now, I mean, at this point, I can't sit there and say, hey, like, you got to dust it off. I mean, we're almost towards the end of the season. I mean, at this point, you are who you are. But I will say we overcame those mistakes and we won the game. So it was really good to see that win for us. I was very proud of the Terrapins winning on homecoming, especially and it was a good turnout. I mean, I wasn't there. I was watching the game from at home here, but I don't know. Something just over me felt confident coming into this game, and then also to looking at USC again, as I stated earlier, they were not. They've been struggling coming into that game and finishing games. So that was basically my takeaways for Maryland versus USC. Great win for homecoming. Now we so graciously ever have to talk about the loss to Minnesota. We're going to take a commercial break. All right, and we're back, and we're going to talk about the loss to Minnesota, and that was awful to watch. We got trounced by Minnesota. The final score was 48.
I mean, this is some bad stuff. What was that? What the hell was that? I'm sorry the H words and the D words aren't appropriate over the airwaves, but it's going to be today. I don't know how much more of this I can take. How in God's name?
Oh, okay. Minnesota coming into this game, I think they were 500 in Big Ten, 4-3. That they've beaten UCLA, they beat USC last 2 weeks. They did lose to Michigan by 3. So I mean, they are kind of rebuilding their program as well. They got a decent offense. I think they're really their biggest strength is running the ball. Their defense to me it was key in this game. I think they had one. I think they were They allowed the second least yards. Looking for those stats correctly, and if coming into the game we're at 13. So I mean, for the Big Ten, that's pretty impressive. Outside of that, when you look at the score, okay, this game does not reflect how, number one, our defensively we riddled with injuries. I'm not making that as an excuse, but that's a reality. We didn't have a lot of guys out there. We are, Brandon Jacob, our secondary. It's been, Braden Lee, season injury 2 weeks ago. You had Perry Fisher. He got banged up in the first half. I mean, our secondary got torched. And in fairness, again, that matters. We just did not do a great job. We allowed Max Brosmer throw for 320 yards, 4 touchdowns. He damn near threw almost 80% of his passes. I mean, I really don't know how to feel about that. That's disgusting. And on top, and again, like with the secondary, I really would have thought we would have seen some progress. They've regressed. I'm not seeing what I thought I would see. Glenn Miller was out, Brandon Jacobs was out, Dante Trader came back after missing 2 games. That's fine, but you cannot give up. I mean, you give up 14 explosive plays, and 2 of them were in the run game. Come on,
he didn't even try.
Mm-hmm. I can't defend that. What do you want me to say to that?
I mean, listen, respectfully, I don't want to hear, we got to find answers. You are who you are, and I mean, this was Michigan's, this was Northwestern, all over again. I mean, Michigan State, I mean, they exposed our secondary. And again, especially the first 2 drives, I mean, they were up 14-0. And he completed 9-11 of his passes. Talking about Brosmer. But I mean, they found space. The communication throughout the game was garbage. I mean, they I don't know. They left Elijah Spencer uncovered. I mean, there were lapses in the defense. I mean, throws on the middle of the field. I mean, there was one that was out of reach. But I mean, that was some of the. I just don't know how to feel. I mean, and Billy Edwards. I mean, in transition to the offense, Billy Edwards didn't have. He was poor. Now again, I think he showed. I mean, there were some flashes. I mean, he's the season low 19 completions, threw for 201 yards. I think he threw the ball with 54, I think it was like 54%. And then the fourth quarter, he got MJ Morris was benched. He got benched from MJ Morris. I mean, the opening drive I thought was great. It was a good start. Excuse me. That was nothing. I mean, their defense, I mean, made it hard. And I mean, he threw a pick 6. I mean, and he's got to be better on his reads. That's one of the biggest weaknesses that he has. And especially when he threw it on that particular play, you saw, I mean, Mike, I felt like he didn't want to say it, but you could see he was pissed. I mean, again, he's got to be better. And then after that, Billy wasn't much better. I mean, he threw another interception, and they're under pressure from the defensive line, and the pass was out of his hands. I mean, we just looked flat out. We looked lackadaisical. We were just piss poor. We just kind of, I don't want to say quit, but I think we just kind of quit the game. We just said, oh, fuck it. Excuse my language, but I mean, there was, I mean, I think there was one drive where it was a 4th and 8 and outside the red zone, he scrambles out the pocket. I mean, rather than you trying to make a play for yourself, then look for a receiver. He got German suplexed. and in fairness, I'm not going to put up blame on him. The offensive line for the Terrapins, listen, I've tried my very best to come to the defense of these guys. This offensive line has been extremely disappointing, and they're not giving. It's. I don't think it's getting any better. I mean, it has been an issue all season. Saturday, I think, was officially the nail in the coffin. I mean, how many times did you see them not opening up running lanes? I mean, you only had three explosive plays. I mean, Ramon Hemby, Dejon Williams, and Edwards. I mean, they were good, but nothing. I mean, on that first drive, 4th and 1, they failed to get any push. I mean, without a running game, without, Billy Edwards was struggling, and again, that's a recipe for disaster. And Lord have mercy. I really just don't know how to really feel when I watched that. I'll be honest, I turned it off. I mean, and listen, and MJ Morris, I mean, he came in there and he did well. I mean, he made good passes. I think he would hit knots on that 49-yard he made 49-yard pass, and then a touchdown I think it was on a 21-yard touchdown. I mean, I mean that's what I expect of a backup in MJ and something, but I mean. I mean, listen, it was just an overall just bad. It was bad, and I think that kind of hurts because it's from it's just been up and down, up and down. It's like a roller coaster. I mean, 2 weeks ago we got trounced by Northwestern, and then you come out the next week, homecoming, you upset USC, and then the next week you come out and you come out like this, like.
I can't defend that. What do you want me to say to that?
So, I don't know, man. It's looking rough. Because we got Oregon, and Oregon is 8-0, and they're 5-0 in the Big Ten. That is going to be something to watch. Because they beat Illinois 38-9, and yeah. And they're ranked number 1. I'm sorry. I take it back. They play Michigan. We don't see them until the 9th. So I'm not looking forward to that because that's just not fair. So I apologize for giving that misinformation. So yeah, that was Maryland football at its finest, and I don't think it's going to get any better personally. So until then, we're on another bye week. And I think it's needed because I think we need to regroup. Guys need to get healthy. And we really, really need to do a self-reflection. That's not just players, that's coaches, that's coaching as well. Because if something's not clicking, and sure, we could say that we could put all the blame on Mike all we want to, but I mean, going to your second bye week and you're 500, that arguably was the worst football game of the season, and that's coming from someone who's been a fan of the Terrapins. That was awful, and I don't know how you're going to game plan for Oregon in a week in less than, as I'm recording this, today's the 29th. You got a week as of this upcoming Saturday. We got to figure that out. So that was something. We're going to go into one final thought because as you see the title of the video, we're going to talk about it.
Thoughts are running through my mind. Someone took some time to find a minute or two to organize them.
Okay, I'm going to say this this is the last time I'm going to reiterate this. Calling for Mike Locksley's job, what is that proving? The man's literally won 3 straight bowl games. We knew what this was going to be this season, but I didn't expect it to look like this. This is part of growth. If you fire him, and no one has seemed to answer this question, so I'm going to ask this question one more time, and I would really like an answer. If you fire Mike Locksley, who are you replacing him with? And if it doesn't pan out, what is the excuse? Can we at least see what he does the rest of the season? I mean, I still think he'd get a bowl game. I think he can beat. I mean, you got 4 games left. You got Oregon, Rutgers, Iowa, Penn State. I'm going to give Maryland confidence. I think Maryland can win at least 3 out of those 4. I think they can. I don't know about beating the Oregon Ducks. I don't know about that because that's not. If they keep it competitive, if they keep it close, that's a victory for me. But enough with the calling for Mike Locksley's job. You got to hold these players accountable too. I'm sorry. I mean they get an NIL, but that at some point players got to take accountability as well. And how you practice, how you play. That was awful. You can't turn it off and turn it on. And that's what separates the good teams from the bad teams, and that's what separates the great teams from the good teams, is when you're consistent. We haven't been consistent. That's not just on coaching, that's on the players. Billy Edwards has to be better with his reads, with his decision-making in the pocket. Our offensive line is mediocre. It's been playing mediocre. And some of these guys are transfers. Now, I don't know if it's a chemistry thing. I don't know what it is, but they've got to play better. Overall, the Terrapins have to play better. Again, I think we'll get it together. We have, a whole bye week to figure it out. Again, get everybody healthy and take it from there. But until then, I think to call for Mike Locksley's job when you're coming off 3 straight bowl victories, I could see if he didn't do diddly poo, you have an argument. But to call for the man's job, listen, Maryland's not Michigan. We're not Ohio State. We're not Alabama. We're not even Auburn. Well, I'll take it back. We beat Auburn. But I mean, we're not a top tier school. I mean, I get it. Everyone has their expectations. But I mean, if we're going to hold Mike Locksley's feet to the fire and saying X, Y, and Z, well, I'm looking at a basketball coach, Kevin Willard. He should be on the hot seat if he doesn't do anything this year. I get it. It's a results-oriented business. He's giving you 3 bowl victories. What more do you want the man to do? The man can't go out there and magically make this team better. You got to give him time. There has to be growth. There has to be patience. I get it. It just, it'll get better, but we got to have patience. You got to give the man some patience. But that's going to conclude this episode of the podcast. Thank you for tuning in, ladies and gentlemen. This was some weekend. I mean, the Commanders won the game. And then, Baltimore losing in Cleveland and then watching us lose to Minnesota. That was something. And then also, too, I'll talk about it with the mock draft. The Washington Mystics fired Mike Tebow. And parted ways with Mike Tebow and Eric Tebow. So that was something to see. And, so that's going to conclude this video. Please like, comment, subscribe for Office content. Thank you for the support you're giving me in this channel. I'm going to go cry myself to sleep now. Y'all take it easy. Peace. Stay up.
I'm elevated, oh yeah. We was waiting, oh yeah. To make a statement, it's clear. The way them boys persevere. Yo, we taking the stairs. Don't let them get in our air. They go watch, I'ma stare. Tell them pull up a chair. God gon' answer our prayers. Living now. They told me dreams come true once you live it out. I picked up pieces from my childhood in a broken house. And heal my soul from the trauma we've been giving out. I hear the whispers in the wind under smoky clouds. And tell myself once again, I'ma work it out. So much shit can happen, yo, it got me tripping now. Yeah, it's feeling different now.
I wonder if it's worth living now. They told me working 9 to 5 just to make it out. And now the dark nights got me needing mouth to mouth. Resuscitate my dreams, tell me what it's all about. I wonder if it's worth living now. They told me show a little skin just to make it out. They told me grind until I doubt, till I reach the clouds. Excuse me a little moment while I break out. Never let them take me out.
Thank you for tuning in to Big Nate Sports Talk. If you enjoyed that episode, be sure to like, subscribe, and share Big Nate Sports Talk. It's on all the time, anytime.
And I wanna thank you. All I wanna do is say thank you for everything you do.
I mean, this is some bad stuff. I don't know what I'm going to do. I don't know what I'm going to say. I don't know what I'm going to do. I don't know how much more of this I can take. I just don't know. This is ridiculous. Oh, Lord. These are legitimate questions. I don't have answers. I'm starving for answers. I'm starving for them because I don't have them. I'm so disgusted. I want you to understand. Don't ask me a damn question. Don't ask me anything. You sound off. I'm going.
This is what's great about sports. This is what the greatest thing about sports is. You play to win the game.
Now, if you want to crown them, then crown their ass. But they are who we thought they were, and we let them off the hook.
This is how I believe, okay? I'm from the old school. I believe this. I would rather play with 10 people and just get penalized all the way until we got to do something else, rather than play with 11 when I know that right now that person is not sold out to be a part of this team. It is more about them than it is about the team. I cannot play with them, cannot win with them, cannot coach with them, can't do it. I want winners. I want people that want to win.